All right, so in this video, I'm going to be making an oval table, but I thought I'd just give it a little bit of context first. So at the start of the year, I made a round dining table, but I made a bit of a mess of the base. It was just a bit too small, and it meant that the whole table had this really bad wiggle to it. And really the only way I could fix that was just by completely remaking the base. So I did that, made it much more sturdy, delivered it to the clients, happy days. But then I just had this spare small table base. So I thought, well, I may as well just make a small tabletop for that base, put it on a marketplace and just sell it for a couple $100. And I've done this a few times where, for whatever reason, I've wanted to get rid of a piece of furniture that I've made. And I put it on a marketplace and people go, oh great, you make stuff. Could you make me like a hall table or a coffee table or whatever? And I try and stay polite and I say, yes, I can make you that, but it's gonna cost more than this $200 dining table. And more often than not, people say, no thanks, or they just don't even respond. So a couple of months after I sold that small dining table, I had someone reach out to me on Messenger saying, hey, I really like that little table you sold. Could you make me one, but could you make it with an oval top? So I was like, okay, here we go. Yes, I can make you that, but it's gonna cost more than what I sold that small table for. And she was like, yeah, no, that's fine. I totally expected that. So I was like, oh, okay, great. Well, let's make a table then. So obviously it wasn't quite that straightforward. I had to come up with a new design for her because the cross-legged situation that I had on that round table wouldn't have really worked on an oval table. It just would have meant there'd be nowhere for your legs to go. She gave me the dimensions of the top that she'd wanted, and I came up with this design. And obviously that's not the same design as the round table, but I feel like it could be like a relative, maybe like a second cousin or something. Either way, she was happy and I could get started on the build of it. I've had this idea for a while now where I've wanted to make a curved stretcher for a table. The idea was for a square table, but I actually thought this could be a fairly good opportunity to try it out on a smaller table. So what I'm doing here is stacking up a bunch of layers of MDF to make a mold to do a bent lamination. Essentially the process is stick a piece that's been rough cut to the main body of the mold, route it down to be the right shape, then stick another piece on, repeat the process, and then just keep going until it's thick enough. The reason I went on that preamble at the start of this video, which is probably absolute kryptonite for the algorithm, is I think for anyone trying to make any kind of money from furniture, when you're starting out, getting eyes on your work is one of the hardest parts. It's a pretty slow grind, and I've always found that Marketplace has been a pretty frustrating place to sell stuff. People generally just go there for a bargain, but I think, like anything really, it's just a numbers game, and if you keep at it, maybe something will eventually pop up. So now that I've finished making the mold, I'm cutting this Tasmanian oak into thin strips. And after each strip, I take it across to the jointer, give that face a skim, clean it up, and head back to the bandsaw to keep cutting out strips. I'm finishing off these parts of the thicknesser here, and the final bent lamination is going to be made up of 6 5mm thick strips. At this stage, I'm hoping that 5mm is thin enough, so I'm giving them a soak in some water overnight just to really try and rehydrate them as much as possible. This wood is super dry, so if I didn't pre-soak them, essentially when I put them into the steam box, it's just cooking the wood as opposed to sort of softening it up. So the next day I can get the steam box prepped, and this is always a pretty exciting experience as I've never really got any idea whether this is going to work or not. Obviously trying to rehydrate these pieces of wood overnight really worked because they swelled up so much that I had a really hard time getting them out of this piece of pipe. But after a bit of brute force, I was able to get them out and into the steam box. After about 45 minutes in the steam box, I could pull them out and get them into the mold and try and close that mold up. And pretty much straight away, I knew that the wheels were sort of coming off this process. I just wasn't able to apply enough force to this mold, and those 5mm strips just weren't bending enough. And I think if I was able to apply enough force, it would have been fine because the wood wasn't actually splitting, but I just knew whilst I was fighting these clamps that this just wasn't going to work. Obviously I could have tried this whole process again but used thinner strips, but really I actually just didn't really want to, so I decided to move on with option number 2. I'm going to chop this piece into 3 separate bits and then just glue it back together after cutting an angle on it. This way is a lot easier, but it just doesn't look quite as cool, I don't think, as having a bent piece that looks like its grain is sort of continually flowing around the corner. Clamping it back together was a little bit of a pickle, but I figured that if I just clamped it like this and then just squeezed it against the tabletop, that would work a treat, and it did. Whilst that glued up, I could make a template for that stretcher. I've never actually done this before, but I printed all my parts out on paper and I feel a bit stupid for not having done this before because it really helped. Once these oversized blocks have dried, I can flatten them off and prepare them to be transformed into voluptuous, curvy stretchers. To begin this shaping process, I'm using this hinge cutting router bit. It's probably one of the cheapest router bits that I own, but it's also one of my favorites. It's super forgiving. You can pretty much route in any direction and it just doesn't tear out. I do a few passes with this little bit, and then once I'm deep enough, take this part across to the router table and finish it off with this crazy expensive double bearing compression router bit. Next up, I can cut these parts to their final length. This doesn't have to be super accurate, so I can just eyeball it, but it's still fairly accurate. Next up, I can move on to the main ladder part of the base. This part's fairly straightforward. It's just sort of chop some bits up, pop some dominoes in them, and then glue them back together. After making sure that's square, I can let that dry and move on with making the tabletop. I used my design to figure out how long to rough cut all these parts, which just meant that later on I didn't end up wasting too much material when it came to cutting out the oval shape. After emptying my desperately overfull dust collector, I could cut these parts to their final width, put some dominoes in them to help with alignment, and glue them up. Provided I've milled everything pretty well, I've found that with glue ups like this, I really don't need to squeeze the clamps too tightly. As long as there's an even bead of glue running along the whole length of the board, everything tends to come out flat enough and without any gaps. Moving back to the base, and I could attach this curvy part to the straight part. And I'm pretty sure those are the technical joinery names for these bits. Whilst that part was drying, I could get on to making the legs, and that starts with rough cutting out some pieces based on this template. Now that these chunks are the right width and the right thickness, I can come along with a Sharpie and trace around these templates again. Then I'll take them across to the bandsaw, cut them out, and I'll finish these off at the router table. I feel like that sentence could apply to about 80% of my woodworking. Get a rough board, rough cut it, joint it, thickness it, trace the template on, cut that out at the bandsaw, and then finish the shaping at the router table. But it never gets old. Now that these have been routed to their final shape, I can cut these legs to their final length and then take them over to the router table to give them a round over. And I do this in a few passes just to avoid any chip out. I realised that this was going to be a bit of a complicated glue up, so I went back to my design and established that the angle between the legs and the top was about 3.5 degrees. So I cut some little chunks off at that angle, then brad nailed them to these bits of wood that already had a groove in them from another project. I'm going to be using that part to clamp from the outside, or the actual leg, but the inside still needs something to clamp onto the frame. So I'm roughly figuring out the perpendicular angle here to cut some little blocks that I can clamp to the frame and then allow me to clamp the actual leg to the frame. Kind of complicated to explain, but you'll see in a second what I mean. So there's that angled block clamped to the far side, and then this little block that's got the cove cut in it is on the leg side. And it made the whole glue up super simple. To cut the oval shape out of the tabletop, the easiest way I could think of was to make a big template. I couldn't print out the entire tabletop, but I was able to get half of it printed at a local office supply shop. So I'm sticking this to some MDF here. I'm roughly cutting it out at the bandsaw, and then I'll just finish it off at the spindle sander. This obviously isn't 100% perfect, but it worked as well as it needed to. After finding the middle point of the table, I can trace the shape of the oval out and then cut as much of the excess off as possible. I'm using my circular saw here as much as possible, as I absolutely hate using the jigsaw, but some parts I just can't avoid using it. It's just so loud and so dusty and so slow. After removing as much of the excess as possible, I can clamp that template back onto the top and use that little hinge bit to slowly nibble away at the shape. It's reasonably slow going doing it this way, but because it leaves such a clean surface, it actually ends up probably saving me a bit of time down the track not having to do a lot of sanding. And once I've got that shape all sorted, I'm adding a big round over to the underside. So at this point, after a bunch of sanding, I popped a coat of oil on and I thought I was all done, but I felt like something was a little bit missing when I was looking at it and decided that I'd needed to add a couple of little cutouts to the top of the legs, just to give the tabletop a bit of separation from the base. It's always quite hard doing these final touches when I think I'm all done. There was nothing wrong with the table before doing these cutouts, but I think this detail just sort of adds an extra little bit to just elevate the table to be that little bit better. So for hopefully the last time on this build, it's rough cut it out, use a template, and then route down to final shape. Sanding the flat part was obviously pretty easy, but to sand the curved part, I stuck some sandpaper around the drill bit, which actually worked a treat. To attach the base to the top, I'm going to be using threaded inserts and bolts through some oversized holes. I'm using a brad point bit to transfer a mark onto the base of the tabletop. Then I can come along and drill a little hole, give it a little chamfer, and then pop the threaded inserts in. At this point I was happy with how it was all looking, so after giving it a couple more coats of oil, it was actually done. And here are some beauty snaps.